Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. People of the world, hello and welcome to Marketing as a Foreign Language, episode 195. We're coming up on episode 200 next week. My guest today is going to blow your mind. You don't even have a clue what is about to happen to you karmically, spiritually, socially, economically, entrepreneurially, because Justin Ehrhardt, not related to Dale Earnhardt. There's no N. Come on, people. Just read the name. It's not that hard. Has degenerative discs in his lower back. He is a veteran. He used to be a firefighter, couldn't do that anymore because of the back stuff. He went from seeing his daughter every night, love you, honey, proud of you, good night, kiss on the forehead, to seeing her like twice a month. That is devastating. I don't know if you've been through anything like that, but let me tell you, that will crush you. He's got unbelievable pain in his body. He ends up in his car trying to get money from the VA, trying to make this whole thing work. Wife cheats on him, divorce. Caroline Welsh, thank you for joining us. And ends up by not killing himself, mind you. He's got many friends, I want to say 12 is the number, who have killed themselves. Doesn't do that, uses that anchor of the love of his daughter to propel him through hell, and is now kind of like bodhisattva energy. I don't know if you know anything about the bodhisattvas, but basically in Hindu spirituality, it's people that are enlightened that choose to stay. So it's enough suffering to want to kill yourself. It's enough suffering to want to call it a day and be done with the whole thing. You've been there. I know you've been there. Hi, I'm talking to you. But to push, pull, breathe, whatever, through all of that, and to end up on the other side is the reason why these words are hitting your ears. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest on the show today, the one, the only, Justin Ehrhardt.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. There's a few other Justin Ehrhardts, but they're not as cool as me, that's for sure.
Well, the one and the only Justin Ehrhardt that I know.
Okay, that's a plus.
Dude.
Yeah, that was pretty great, right? Now I got to follow that up. That's gonna be tough.
So what's the plan, Justin? So let's go all the way back. You are incarnated on planet Earth in Georgia, I assume?
California, Southern California.
That's right, California.
Yeah. Born and raised in Ontario. I was actually born in Fontana, which is down the road from Ontario. But yeah, Southern California is what I called home for about 18 years.
Okay. And you're a young kid. You're in California. What kind of kid are you?
So I grew up in a religious household. So I had a lot of those types of, don't do this, don't do that, which also led to a little bit later in life of me rebelling against sex. I'm like, I don't like being told what not to do. But, we had a, typical suburban family. My dad was, working, did air conditioning technician stuff. And I was doing that ever since I was 5 because he had worked for a company, was doing a side business. So I learned kind of early on the entrepreneur spirit of like always busting your ass, making a living and working on that. And then my mom is a stay-at-home mom, and there's 4 total boys and I have an older sister. So there's 5 total kids. And so, my mom was we're always playing sports, shuttling us between a lot of different things. So I grew up in a pretty great environment. We didn't have tons of money, but we didn't struggle a lot. It wasn't like we bought a bunch of toys and stuff. My mom, it's very hard for her to spend money on 5 kids all the time. So our gift was the gift of being able to, play sports and have that life. And then So it was a pretty good one for the most part. Things really started to change for me around 14 years old. My dad was, when I was a little kid, he was arrested for, I think he was like taking money out of a drawer at work or something, like, stealing money essentially, right? He went to jail, served time for that. I don't really even remember it at all. I was so young, but he was also had an issue with drugs previously. So he was clean for a majority of my life and we never had any issues. But then he started relapsing when I was about 14 years old. And I was the oldest boy. My sister was 3 years, or, she's 3 years older than me. So when I was 16, he ended up passing away. Wasn't drug related or anything. He had walking pneumonia and had a cardiac arrest because of it at 46 years old. Now, this is where life really started, taking rough turns, to say the least, right? My mom's a stay-at-home mom. She didn't have college education. She didn't have a job. She didn't have anything. And now she was suddenly thrown into having to raise 5 kids. My dad didn't have life insurance except through his job, which is about 50 grand. And raising, 5 kids, 4, my sister was in the Air Force at this time, but 4 kids aging 6 years old to 16. It was tough, especially in California, where everything, even back in 2005, was arguably expensive.
Okay, so let's go back. So what was your father's drug of choice?
He did mostly meth.
Meth. Okay.
Yeah.
So just last night I was watching a documentary about, there's a gentleman whose name, Raphael Rowe is his name, and he was falsely accused of murder in England, and put into prison, obviously, for 12 years. And then after 12 years, DNA evidence acquitted him. So he fought that battle 12 years. And now in his Netflix show, he goes to the world's toughest prisons. And because he's got all this experience as an inmate, he understands prison culture, and he gives the viewers this inside look into these different prisons, how they operate. And under Duterte, who I want to say in the Philippines, that could be incorrect, I think it's the Philippines, there are prisons that have max capacity of 1,200 people, where the current inmate population is 5,000.
Wow.
And many, 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 many of these people who are sleeping literally with like feet in their face, some dude's armpit right by, like there is no room, are there for meth. Meth is a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a drug, and we don't treat people as victims of the drugs in our culture, and it is horrifying what we do to these people. It's horrifying. And so I don't see what your father did as being criminal. I don't think it's not, in my mind, it's not criminal.
Yeah. And that was, one thing I tried really hard when I was, 15, 16, was I understood that it was, an addiction at that time, right? Like I'm the oldest boy trying to like help keep everything together. He had some interactions with law enforcement at our house, because of him putting drugs in, like, I don't know, he was putting drugs inside of food sometimes, and he would like eat it and ingest it so he can get high in that route. And it was like some ice cream or something that my mom had eaten it, and she got excruciatingly sick because of it. And he wouldn't let her go to the hospital. We seeing the fire and ambulance downstage down the road, cops coming in the door, and because he was essentially holding us there, against our will. So we couldn't get the medical attention for her. And through all of that, well, obviously I started having a lot of anger at that period. After he had died, one of the things I was going to NA meetings with him every Saturday morning at like 6 a.m. with him, and was trying really hard to make sure that we can get him on the right path, because I knew he was an outstanding father, was someone who was great to us. He was always playing outside with us, and just very active, worked his ass off to make sure we had the life we had. And it was very challenging. And it was never once looking at it like, well, you're a failure as a person. I understood at that point, like, this is something that you have to try to overcome. We all have different vices and addictions and obviously, drugs is one of the top ones. It's very.
So if anyone could be forgiven for being a drug addict, it's you. So why aren't you a drug addict, or are you?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't do drugs.
Why aren't you? Why aren't you a drug addict? You should be. I mean,
There's
you've got all the back issues, you've got the PTSD, you check all the boxes.
Yeah, they're like, you should have it. But the one thing that really drives me from it is seeing the negative aspects. I saw the things that it did to our family and how it, caused issues with him physically. It caused issues in the marriage and as a father. And that's not the route I want to be able to go down.
Okay, so just willpower. So do you think if you took a shot of heroin or you did meth, do you think having done it and actually feeling good, for that little brief, because this is what happens to people. They're like, I feel the best I've ever felt my entire life. I had no idea I could actually feel this way. And then they go down the rabbit hole and of addiction. So do you think if you were to take it, that it would just be almost impossible to quit? Or do you think?
I think that is one of the things that I have challenges with, because addiction does run into my family. Like my brother, who's younger than me by 3 years, he has a criminal record now. He's a father, but he's been arrested for domestic violence. He's done drugs and stuff. So I do look at that. I look at, well, what's the biggest dividing factor? Like, why being in the same exact situation, the same father, seeing the same things? Yeah, 3-year difference. Maybe maturity level, but my brother always had massive anger issues within that realm. Again, there's 4 of us, and 5 with my sister, but the youngest one, he reacts differently having the same father, but he was younger. So why does one have some issues when it comes down sometimes to being arrested before? And again, I'm not judging him on his mistakes or what he's done, but why did I go, not the right way? I don't want to say that, but more the way of the college education, military career, business to where he's at now, and it's not something I don't know fully. But if I did get into that situation, yeah, I absolutely believe that it would be a problem, because the addiction aspect does run from him, as well as the bipolar side.
Okay. Yeah. So demons, man. I just everywhere I look with the story, there's demons. I think sometimes people can reflect on their life and be like, I live in hell. Right. I've felt that way.
Yeah.
Where you just go like, this must be hell, because there's no other justification, because it ain't heaven. Right.
Yeah.
I ain't in heaven right now, sleeping in my car, or whatever. There's excruciating back pain, no money, all this stuff. And so I think people at times will go like, why am I in hell? Like, what is going on? And to me, hell is the difficulty setting on the game of life. Okay. It's just a difficulty setting, right? And you can be upset about the fact that it's ramped up to that. It's not easy. It's not meaning you might look at someone and look at their life and say, yeah, you're on easy mode, and be upset about it and whatever. But if hell is a difficulty setting, then killing it on that difficulty setting is so much more rewarding than killing it on easy mode. So heaven to me would just be easy mode. It's just instant gratification. You feel great all the time. There's very few obstacles. There's no obstacle you can't completely overcome very quickly. That's easy mode. And so instead of thinking of things in terms of I'm in hell, I'm in heaven, I just think of them in terms of difficulty settings. I'm like, ooh, the difficulty setting just ramped up a lot. Now, why might that be? Why might the difficulty settings in our lives increase? Let me ask you that question. Why do you think that is?
There's 2 different ways I tend to go with it. Like, people are spiritual, like, God's putting these things in front of them for a reason. The way that I kind of look at it is, I like your analogy of video games. I remember when the original Halo came out, right? Like early 2000s. And you start off like any game, at beginner level. And once you go through that, even at beginner level, you suck. You're trying to figure out the joysticks. This is when, now we have 2 thumbs being used on joysticks and trigger fingers and everything else, right? When sometimes those challenges seem to rise in our life, it's the way I like to look at it is it's a boss, right? So maybe the challenging, you can even keep like the easy level on, but as you progress in the game, the bosses, like going back to Mario, like they get harder and harder. The things we have to do becomes impossibly hard, it seems like. But the only reason why it gets easier, and again, I say that loosely, is because if you play a level repeatedly over and over again, like even the 007 GoldenEye game, like just playing that repeatedly over and over again, you start knowing all the bad guys, where they're at, their little routes that they're doing. Did the settings get easier? Not necessarily, but you just got better at it. So within life, whenever we have these challenges pop up, we're having like all these things come up. Like I used to look at it as, why is this happening to me? Why am I always the one that this is going? Versus, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I actually create? And some of the hardest parts, I've been one of those minds where it's like, this just sucks. I'm never going to get out of it. Now it's like, whenever things for me go wrong and go challenging, I'm like, what can I learn from this? How can I become better? So for me, it's like my difficulty setting is going up in the essence of what I can handle and what I can tolerate with the amount of bull crap that gets thrown my way now. Because now I look at it, I talked about something called having a hurdler's mindset. I don't know if you've ever seen hurdlers in the Olympics run, right? Like when I was trying to do hurdling in middle school, I can't really do it that well. I would hit this stupid little hurdles all the dang time. Well, what I notice about Olympic athletes whenever they're hurdling is they're not looking at the hurdles, the obstacles in front of them. They're looking at the finish line. They've gotten so good with their steps that they know exactly when they need to hop over, when they need to jump at it. But when you first start hurdling or you start video games, you're not the greatest at it. You just get better after repetition and knowing how to overcome those levels. If you've ever done those like escape rooms at all, if I were to put you into an escape room, you may or may not pass it. Statistically, a lot of people overthink it. They don't pass it, right? They get stuck in it. 60 minutes comes up, whatever. But if you solve that escape room, then I take you out, reset it up to exactly how it was and put you back in, you're going to get out like that. So the difficulty didn't necessarily go up with that room. Just you got better because of the repetition and overcoming it and knowing how to get out of that.
Yeah, of course. And so when we identify with the body, we tend to think, oh, this is happening to me, my pain. It's just really easy to get trapped into ego. And people go, okay, Kellen, this is a show about marketing. What does this have to do anything with marketing? If you're going to have any kind of energy to put yourself out there, to do interviews like Justin's doing, if you want to wake up with purpose in your life and be like, okay, I'm gonna do an Instagram reel. You don't need me to tell you that you should be doing Instagram reels, right? You don't need me to tell you that you should have a TikTok or that you should be doing YouTube lives or that you should be, working on your brand or learning graphic design or meeting new people and developing relationships. You know all of these things intuitively. We got spammed from Twitch. That's so funny. Want to become famous? Buy followers. Thank you, Twitch spam bot, for that wonderful comment. You already know that. And so what you really need to do is to find this inner strength. And so as annoyed as I am by the term motivational speaker, I just think that's a garbage throwaway title to describe somebody. At the end of the day, you're hearing this for a good reason. There's a good reason why you're tuned in, why my voice is reaching your ears. It's not chaos. There's a method to the madness. So you're young, prior to the years where because 14 years old to you was like a major turning point. It sounds like. Yeah. And that was when your father died. Was it 14?
Yeah. So he died when I was 16, but he started a lot of the issues.
The drugs and the stuff started at 14. Okay. And then that of course hits you at this ridiculous point in your life. I mean, 14, how awkward is 14?
Yeah.
For a human being.
Yeah, terrible as it is.
Yeah. Like that, like a little bit past junior high and all that. Caroline writes in chat, don't buy followers, people. It messes with algorithms. That is absolutely true, because if you buy 10,000 followers and they're all bots and they don't interact with your stuff, then you're never going to reach anyone ever again. Okay, but let's go back a little bit. So did you have some sort of utopian, beautiful, yay, life is great, from like ages 8 to 12? I mean, were those good years?
I mean, it was, when you're a kid, I think you're shielded a lot, from a lot of the different things that parents are going through. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty standard. I didn't have a lot of issues when it comes to my childhood. And, like I said, we just were able to play sports, and that's what mattered to us, especially being a bunch of, 4 boys. Like baseball was our thing. So playing sports once a year, go to monster trucks. Our birthdays were, good. We got decent Christmases. So there's nothing like wrong. It's pretty sheltered for the most
And
part.
if, all right, so let's suppose in some parallel reality, that some other soul is playing the Justin Ehrhardt game, and for whatever reason, in that configuration, your father never does drugs at 14. He's
Yeah.
stable. He never dies. What's that Justin doing at your age?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think about that type of stuff a lot, right? Like we talk about parallel universes. I'm like, what if the other Justin didn't do this, or what if they did this? And it's a very interesting concept, and especially when you sit there and start thinking about that, and you're like, holy shit, like this is weird. But if he didn't, where would I be at? I look at, and this is a hard realization for myself and for some people. Like I look at all the things that have happened. While in the moment sucked, it was terrible. It built me to who I am right now. It's been able to make me stronger for my own challenges and my own adversities, which still sometimes I'm not the best at overcoming. But yeah, if he was around, I have no idea. Like it's very hard to like fathom, like, man, because my life has been built without him being around, right? Like, and so if he was, would I have still gone in the military? Would I be where I'm at now? Would I, we can do the what if game all day, but yeah, that him not being there, it's hard to actually visualize just because my mind has instilled so much of like, he ain't here for, I don't know, what, 17 years almost.
What's your gut reaction though? You know what? Like, boom, the thought that enters your head. Like, what would that be like?
Yeah, I mean, my goal was going in the military. So I probably would have still gone down this path, but I think some of the mental aspects and the insecurities wouldn't have been there if he didn't go through that route. Some of those insecurities, they tend to be like, well, am I going to be a good enough father? Am I going to have, issues where my kids towards the latter part of my life don't respect me as much, So I think the career wise, it still would have been down that route. Is my initial gut reaction for that.
I think you would have been a disaster, total drug addict. I think you'd be dead at this point because of some horrific choice you made. And I choose to look at it that way because for some reason, that perspective, it makes the universe make more sense. It takes this horrifying thing, the same thing like with my dad dying when I was 2. I'm like, well, here I am with my monkey mind thinking that's a bad thing. I love doing that because I'm so smart, right? I like to look at these things and judge the universe and go, well, it's clearly a bad thing. Dude, I'm so stupid and ignorant. I don't have a clue what a bad thing is. I think I know what a bad thing is. I'm like sure of it. You know what I mean? Like I hit a red light. I'm like, stupid red light. Like, because I know for a fact that's, that was a bad thing. And this is the predicament we find ourselves in. If we don't trust the narrative of our life. We don't trust the process.
Yeah.
We constantly judge it. I constantly judge it. It's a never ending stream of me being certain that I know what a bad thing is.
Yeah.
And to me, it just shows my own profound ignorance of the situation.
Yeah. And that's even the red lights. Like when you mentioned that, there's something that I've been working on doing to stop looking at things so negative. Like whether it's traffic, somebody cuts me off, whatever, like I said, maybe it's not a bad thing. I don't know. I start trying to look at it from as positive as possible. And some people call me annoyingly optimistic, but maybe that person, and it's very easy. If someone like is driving, especially in Atlanta traffic, it's terrible. They're driving, weaving in and out. You can be like, what a terrible person, right? I don't know. Maybe they're going to the hospital. Maybe their kid was just like hit by a car. I don't know what they're going through. Maybe that red light was stopping me from something else. Like, so now I'm like, hey, I'm not going to stress. I'm not going to be upset over a light, or someone else's action. So I learned very deeply that I can control 2 things: my attitude and my activity. I control how I feel, how I react, how I'm, what I'm doing every single day to go towards my certain goals. I can't control a light. So why am I going to get pissed off and upset at it? It's hard. It's not, trust me, there's still times I'm still like, that person's an a-hole, but trying to catch yourself and say, maybe it's not a terrible thing. Maybe it's not as bad as my mind. Like you said, monkey brain instantly starts thinking negative protective. It goes to that survival element of, what do I need to look out for? What is the bad thing that can happen because of that?
Yeah, there's one of my favorite like spiritual teacher dudes. His name is Ram Dass, formerly Richard Alpert. He's amazing. He what was his thing? It's like someone cuts you off in traffic. To me, oh, fake holy, right? Being just running around being fake holy all the time. Like, no, I forgive everyone, but inside you're like this mother. You know what I mean? Like that will bite you in the tuckets. Okay, that will come back to haunt you.
Absolutely, and that's what a lot of people do. Like there's so much fake around. It's like fake holy is a great analogy. People are fake rich, they're fake successful, they're fake gurus, they're fake Instagram influencers, they're fake anything. And when you are faking so much in any realm, right? Like my neighbor across the street, they've got a 20-year-old daughter that is going to college. I don't know, but one day I saw her come out of her garage in roller skates, take a picture, and go back inside.
Right.
And then went out in gym equipment outside after I have not seen this woman but 2 times, right? And takes a picture, goes back inside. And even I swear to you, Kellen was putting water on her face like she is just working out. And it goes back to what you're saying. Like when you put on such a fake persona, you have to maintain a fake persona throughout the entirety, because we see this all the time with fake influencers, like the spam stuff. And Caroline saying, hey, don't do that because it messes up the algorithm. Well, when you're faking your life, it's messing up the algorithm of your internal spirit and being, because now you've created that persona and that fake spirit of someone who doesn't even exist. You're not roller skating. Go roller skate. Jesus, you don't have to fake it just to get, clout or likes and stuff. Like, we are so stuck as a society with instant gratification and likes and shares in this versus what impact are you actually doing to yourself? So fakeness is like faking I forgive everyone. No, you really don't. You can become better at, letting stuff go, but there's still stuff that we need to work on, everyone internally, with anger and hate or letting stuff, it's when you can capture yourself, say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have been like that to that person. I don't necessarily forgive you for some things yet. I'm working on it, but I'm not going to pretend that this is a lovey-dovey thing. It's not how it works. But faking is what's going to be detrimental to people's spirit and their mindset.
Yeah. Whew. So, and then we have to make money, right? So, I mean, I get it. If these people, if this is your livelihood, if putting on, because you could argue that actors that go on the movie, that's faking it. But this is their job. Their job is to fake it, man. What they do is they fake it and they make money by faking it. And that is what it is. And then you go, okay, well, it's just a job then. They're just an actress. And this is how they, put food on the table.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point. I think, but one of the key differences in that realm is when actors are acting, they know they're putting on a show, essentially, and the people watching the show know it's fake. Part of our problem as society, we see these influencers or these people who have their stuff
and
together,
we assume it's real.
We assume that's how their real life is. And that's where one of the challenges people have, and why, it's statistically, especially over COVID, the loneliness has gone up, depression has gone up. People, like I said, I've had a bunch of friends kill themselves. And do I know why? No, not all the time. But people are, statistically more depressed at a faster rate too. Like, it's just skyrocketing exponentially. So when I look at the correlation, and everything can be technically a correlation when you want to break it down, right? Like pizza consumption can be a correlation to depression, but social media and the instant gratification problem that they're obviously still studying and building up, but people compare their lives so easily because social media. You can look at, I've had people who shoot me messages like, man, you have everything so great. And this is why I'm very open about my challenges, because I want to understand, I have a decent life right now, but look, here's my challenges, here's my problems. I'm very good. If I have a problem, I'll record a quick video saying, hey, here's what challenges I face and how I overcame them, or what I'm working on to overcome them. And I've had 2 people now message me and say, hey, because your content, I didn't kill myself. And that
Dude.
I don't give a shit about, sorry to curse, but I don't care about the thousands of people that this, that may like my stuff. I care about
Right.
the people who
Hey
have.
man, I
That's
just had this incredible guest on my show. I'm embarrassed I can't pull up her name. I just have been meeting so many. I've been meeting one new person every day, Monday through Friday, for the last like 4 weeks. It's crazy. And it all under the auspices of us actually like getting to know each other over, many interview sessions. But she was telling me that God, her name is like just really irritating me that I can't remember her name. She was telling me that she was writing a book, and we were talking about something very similar to what you just mentioned. And her thing was someone called her in the middle of the night, and she had actually written that chapter in the middle of the night. And so there was just a very spiritual sort of, and she's like, that's what I'm after. She's like, I'm after that. Like, I want that one person to have overcome that horrifying experience in their life because of my help, which you could argue is your own ego too. Like you could even just say like, it's like, no, I'm more authentic than you. Like, let's do the authentic Olympics,
Yeah.
So that can be its own trap as well. But that is the crux of this conversation. And I hope people understand that. And like, look, we got 4 people on the live stream right now. Like after the fact, we'll probably get maybe like 25. What's up, Dwayne? There we go. Dwayne Brooks, homeless to hero. I'm currently on the beginning side, tuning in to change that. But the point being that, number one, I don't know if down the line this thing will have like 30,000 views. I have no idea. Or maybe it sits at 30 for the rest of its existence. I don't know. I don't know. I can't control that. What I can control is actually giving about your life story, giving you a platform to be honest, and the fact that it's live. It's not because I think it's going to be this popular show. It's not like it's like a strategy. Oh, it's live. Come to the live show. Nobody shows up for the live show. People are busy. Nobody cares. It's because I want people to realize that this isn't edited.
Yeah.
You listen to a podcast, you're like, maybe they said this, maybe they went down that path, maybe they whatever. But this is what it is, man. Justin's going to say whatever he's going to say. I'm going to say whatever I'm going to say. Ta-da. And there's your show.
We can use that for marketing too, right? That's the reason why a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs or people don't want to go live. It's because they know that they're so used to and being able to edit everything and make it so pretty and so perfect. I like doing live stuff. I do lives on in my groups that I run because it also shows that you have the credibility to be able to have, just because if you know what you're talking about, you can just talk about it. That's why when, we're talking before this and I'm like, hey, I enjoy this. I enjoy live streams. I enjoy conversing with people. And it doesn't matter if there's 4 people now or 400,000, I'm still going to be the same exact person on how it is. And to your point about the ego, people have got to be very careful. Again, the ego starts leading to creating more fake stuff, and that we've seen that with people on, Instagram, where they've got tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers, and that feeds their ego. The amount of people they have on their thing feeds the ego versus, hey, here's how many people I can actually impact with my platform and what I can do. So someday, obviously, I hope, Kellen, that this takes off, your entire, even live streaming, having thousands of people on there, because the premise behind it is what people need, especially in our society these days, where people are really looking for this. They just don't know where to turn yet.
Hey man, I appreciate it. I'm just trying to look, there's different channels of consciousness, right? And I know we're running out of time. We'll get you out of here, but there's channels of consciousness. There's, I am my body, therefore the thing that happened to my body is devastating or fantastic, right? There's that channel, like, well, I smoke some weed, I feel better, like I'll keep doing that. No, I feel like garbage later, I gotta stop smoking weed. Like that whole cycle of just like how the body is and how the body feels. So there's that channel. And then there's the channel of like, oh, I'm a business owner and I wrote a book and here's this, like, and then let everyone know it's like, or I'm a doctor and like, it's very important that I do my work. There's your like station in life, whatever. And then there's, no, I'm a consciousness that's just beyond all of these things. But the problem is, if people are like, no, look how high and almighty I am, that's still trapped. You're still trapped in this. Like, no, I'm actually a soul. And, it's like, I'm not this body. And it's like, you have to the higher you get, like in consciousness, the more you can pull out and see the narrative of your life experience and empathize with others and understand that they're going through equal trauma and difficulty and everything. Like everyone's suffering. This is the first tenet of Buddhism, the first noble truth. There is suffering. You can't just sit on that plane of like, oh, I'm all high and mighty and I see the suffering of the world. And it's like, who cares? Like no one cares that you've achieved this sort of perspective on life. No, it's not helping anyone. And so you have to somehow live with all three of those perspectives simultaneously. I am my body to a certain extent because duh, you are. I am my profession because hello, like this is what you do for a living. And I'm aware of the fact that all of this is just some crazy drama. I mean, insane, the human experience. You take the forgetting pill, you show up on this planet, you know, and you're just thrown into this whirlwind of like, what is like the craziest telenovela in the history of drama. This drama is insane, dude. But it's also incredible and blah, blah, blah. So I'll get off my soapbox. Justin, I want to give you a chance to let the folks know how to contact you. How do you want these folks to reach you? Pitch them on what you're doing, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Yeah, so I mean, the best way I do it, like I don't believe in just like diving in people's inboxes and saying, "Hey, buy my stuff." Like that's just not how I am. I have a marketing group called Entrepreneurs and Marketing. Marketing Made Simple. You guys can just go in there. It's a free group. You can reach me in there or my personal Facebook. Like I don't recommend people going to my business page because I don't really answer DMs on there because I get spammed like how we got spam popping up all the time. But yeah, just reaching out and following that stuff. You know, it's one of the best ways to actually do that is either the group or my personal page on Facebook. That's where I sit at most of the time.
Yeah. So they go to Facebook, they type in your name, Justin Ehrhardt, and they just friend you. Is that what you want?
Yeah, they can just do that. They can just friend me on Facebook and be able to do that. Or just go into that group and I'm in there as well.
Say the name of the group one more time.
Entrepreneurs and Marketing. And
so if they type in Entrepreneurs and Marketing in Facebook, yours as well will show up because that's a pretty.
Yeah, there's not many groups named that actually, which is kind of shocking. That specifically. So it's got a picture of me standing there, some white and orange on there as the photo and stuff. So Entrepreneurs and Marketing Made Simple is the total name of it, and that's where I just do a couple videos and drop some content to help people out. Because like I said, this is my profession. It doesn't make me, but I make the profession. There's a lot of fake marketers out there that just don't provide value. They just say, buy my stuff and I'll rip you off. So I always want to make sure I provide value in everything I can. So, you know, I appreciate you having me on here. If I can provide more value, you know, definitely excited to continue this friendship.
Yeah, we'll get you back on. Yeah, because we got it's probably like 3 months. We're booked up for like the next 3 months, but we'll get you on after that, and we'll pick up around high school probably because we hit that 14. Like that 14 was a big deal, 14 to 16, and then we'll move into like the military stuff, and that'll be the next episode. People of the world, I don't even need to say it because you already know. 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're listening to this after the fact on YouTube, come on, man. Do a calendar thing. Just put a calendar thing, 10:30, just as a reminder. You can ask any of my guests anything you want to ask them. It delights them when they see comments and questions in chat. All you do is type youtube.com/senditrising or Send It Rising, which is the name of my company, into YouTube, and voila, you're right there. You'll see the live button. You click the live button, and here you are. If you've never really chatted on a live stream before, it's a lot of fun, man. It's powerful stuff. I was on a live stream with Grandmaster Hikaru, who's one of the top-ranked chess people in the world, and his chat's like just flying. And I was like, dude, you need a stand-up desk because it'll just jack up your back to sit all day every day. And he looks over and he's like, stand-up desk. Bah. He like totally dismissed my comment, but he read it. So I planted my seed. I'm saying you can influence the guests, man. Like they read the comments. This isn't some sort of like powerless experience. So swing on by the live show. We want to have you here. iTunes, Spotify. If you're in the car and you want to catch up, you can download them there, and 10 other podcast platforms, Deezer and all this other nonsense. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the show for today. I'm going to give Justin the final word.
Yeah, so I mean, just capitalizing on what we talked about is learn how to not worry about and comparing, especially on social media when it comes to marketing or anything. Don't compare your life to everyone else. You know, just understand they have challenges, other people have challenges. And one thing too is if someone goes through the same situation as you and maybe they aren't handling as good as you, don't look at them in such a negative light. Look at how you can give them tools and resources with your experiences and how you overcome things to help them out of the hole. The problem of society these days is we look down the hole people are in, whether they dug in themselves or fell into a trap or not. We look down at them and we don't help them up. We just say, oh, it sucks to be you, and just keep pressing on. So start helping other people up along your journey and be that guide for them.
Yep. Love people, serve people. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Ehrhardt, and we will see y'all for the next episode. Goodbye for now.